Hello and good afternoon. My name is Jürgen Steinmetz, and we're joining you from the Breaking News Show in Honolulu, Hawaii, and in College Station, Texas. It's a little bit of a cloudy day. It's not really raining, but it's cloudy here today. It's nice, comfortable, and people are at the beach, so that hasn't changed, and the shopping centers are busy. So how's everything in College Station, Peter?
I'm jealous because we have this heat wave that just doesn't want to go away. And today it was a cool day. It was only 102, which is 40 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow it's going up to about 105, which is about 40.4% Celsius. And on Saturday, it's supposed to go up to about 110, which is about 41 degrees Celsius. So it's really hot right now. The good thing is you can dry your clothes instantaneously. You don't need a clothes dryer because you put your clothes outside and Zappo. And I get up at 4 in the morning and I walk early so that I'm in the house before the sun comes up. So we're looking forward to when we get down to, 35, 36 degrees Celsius and 90 degrees. It'll be a cool day for us here in Texas. And we would be at the beach, except we don't have a beach. So we're double jealous of Hawaii.
Yeah, and a lot going on in this world again, of course, like every day, and so we're following the news about international travel arrivals seem to be going up, specifically in North America, so that is good news. But then, of course, we have all the terrible news coming in from many parts of the world. And surprisingly, today I had a conversation with a friend about Japan. Japan is really closed still. Tourism doesn't exist, inbound tourism. And what it does for people who are traveling beyond, like many people travel through Japan to get to destinations like Thailand, for example, I might be stuck at the airport for a day with absolutely no way to go because Japan's borders are closed. If you fly to Haneda, there is not an airport hotel within the international area. And I understand from a person who just came back from Thailand and was traveling through Japan, he spent 19 hours in Haneda Airport, and there was only one restaurant open at the airport, and it closed at 5 in the afternoon. So the whole night there was absolutely nothing to do. You had coins. In Japanese, you can use some of the vending machines, but they didn't take credit cards. So
right. That actually happened. That's a typical Japanese thing. One of the things I don't think people are thinking about is that we're getting into typhoon season. And that means a lot of the airports are closed when typhoons hit, obviously. I was in a situation like that many years ago, flying to Hong Kong, and the plane couldn't land. And the only place they could go to was a Japanese port, was in Okinawa. The Japanese wouldn't let us out off the plane because none of us had visas to go to Japan because we were expecting to be in Hong Kong. And it took like 4 hours of negotiation be able to just get off the plane and get into the terminal. So if you're stuck in Tokyo at going transit and then your second plane doesn't take off, you got some real issues. I think we have to be really careful about the statistical upgrade that's going on in travel. Yes, in North America, it is going very well right now. But I wonder if this is not a lag time because there was a lot of pent up demand because of COVID that people really wanted to travel. But now the other side of that, because we're going to beginning economically hard times, we may see a complete reversal. I don't know if we will, but I think we should be prepared for that because people who are traveling right now had bought tickets, 2 or 3 months ago. I just had to buy a ticket to Washington, D.C. From Houston. It's usually $300. The cheapest I could get was $550. So you can see that's almost double in price. In my case, it's for business, so it's not the end of the world. But if you're doing travel, we're now seeing over the 4th of July weekend in the United States, which is a huge travel weekend, and there's all sorts of problems in the airports. We now see large numbers of people saying they're not going to fly and they're going to instead drive. So it'll be interesting to see where this is in 5 or 6 months. Yes, you are right. The statistics right now indicate a boom, but that boom may be a false boom, and we may see that it was a boom and then bust. And we'll see.
The similar stories are coming in today. A new statistics explained the plump in visitors' arrival to South America. In 2019, there were 35 million visitors' arrival in South America, and this dropped in 2021 to only 3.3 million, what is less than 10% of the numbers before. And now it's coming back very strong, and predictions are in 2024, the record levels they had in 2019 will be exceeded. So judging from what you're saying, you don't see it like this, do you?
Well, I see it as a boom bust situation. Now in South America, I think you're going to see a different situation because Europe is going through a very difficult time right now. Many people are looking in the North American market or the British market are looking at Latin America as less expensive, as opportunities, and some of the Latin American countries are starting to get a handle on security. I'm working with the Mexicans and to be able to create good security across the country. You have lots of great beaches and wonderful food in all sorts of Latin America. I'll be in August in Cuenca, Ecuador, and they're beginning to explore how can they be opened up to tourism. And a lot of these smaller cities in Latin America have all the charm of a European city, but at 1/4 the price. So they may be getting a rebound from some of the problems that we're seeing that may start in Europe. Now, Europe will, of course, have local tourists because you're going to have people going from Spain to Portugal to, to France, to Germany, to Poland. The question will be in a year's time, will they lose the North American market? Will they lose some of the other markets if Europe becomes too expensive? The good news for Europe is the euro is doing incredibly poorly. And that means that prices against other currencies are doing well. But the other side of that is Europe is facing for the first time food shortages and major energy shortages. So it's going to be an interesting, I think we just don't know. But I think we have to be really careful when we look at the statistics to understand they're only a picture at this moment, but that picture could change radically.
No, absolutely. The situation remains unpredictable worldwide, and the world is really in different stages. Why Asia, for instance, still requires masks even to wear outside. In here at home in the United States, masks are almost becoming a thing of the past.
And they are a thing of the past in Texas. If you see someone with a mask in Texas, you really kind of question if the person has lost their mind. I mean, you just
it's different here in Hawaii. I can tell you, it's the other way around. If I get into an elevator or into a department store and I don't wear a mask, it's not required by law. People are going to look funny at me and I said, "So why is this person wearing?"
I think that maybe because Hawaii is culturally, on some level, tied to the Asian Pacific world, and Texas and these are tied more to the Latin American world. So as different cultures have seen these. But other things are happening. Israel is opening up tremendously. It's starting to have also possible new air communication between Turkey and Israel, which is a really good area for peace. And that shows stuff going on. Next week, of course, President Biden will be in Saudi Arabia and Israel, and one of the things they're talking about is new tourism agreements between the countries. So again, hopefully these are steps where tourism becomes an element towards peace.
Qatar Airways today is really showing the divide in the airline system about class. There's really a caste system and a class system. They announced 4 different type of lounges.
Really?
One, your privileged club member, what is more probably kind of a silver member, I guess, in their frequent flyer, you have one lounge, and you have one what's for the silver, I guess, that's the next gold, and you have a very prestige lounge for the platinum. So I'm wondering inside how different the food is in between these 4 lounges, but it's an interesting approach. Do you think that makes any sense to do that, Peter?
Well, we're seeing this with United, as you know, because on United Airlines in the United States, and I believe American is also doing it, if you are going on the top tier, a first class ticket, or they call it business first on United, then you're going to get into the Polaris Lounge, which is you can only come in with Polaris on your ticket. On the other hand, other people go to the United Club. So I see that. I also remember in Germany, I once had a first class ticket on Lufthansa, and I went into the lounge, and the lady said, "No, you're not supposed to be here." And I said, "Why not?" She said, "No, you're supposed to be at a first class lounge," which was, by the way, I will tell you, was wonderful. But that was the first time I had been in a distinction between lounges. I guess what airlines are trying to do is give more value to their top customers. It certainly is not a democratic system, saying the idea of equality, but they're trying to attract. They're charging a lot of money, and because they're trying to charge a lot of money, they have to give you something for that money besides just a seat. So I think it's a marketing device.
Yeah, it is. I guess, since Qatar Airways, they give you a massage in both the gold and the platinum one. I wonder what the difference in massages, you never know.
Maybe you get a full Turkish massage in one. If I'm not mistaken, on first class in Qatar Airways, they have a shower on the first class compartment.
That was Emirates. Emirates. Yes.
And somebody else, I think, also does it.
Etihad also has it.
Yeah. So, that's really like the ultimate luxury, that you can take a shower at 40,000 feet. I don't know how do you strap yourself in when you're in the shower if there's turbulence.
Well, I hope they don't have glass doors there, so they cannot break. I hope it's going to be plastic.
I don't know what they do, but think about it. You're in the shower and all of a sudden the light comes on and says, "Return to your seat." I don't know how you handle this.
Yeah, well, that's going to be an interesting subject, maybe to invite Etihad and Emirates.
Yes, I would love to do that. I've never been on first class on Emirates or Etihad, but I bet it's a real experience. And I do look at some of the YouTubes when people get to do some of those exciting experiences. I would love to have that type of experience. The best I've done is business first.
Yeah, I know it is really over the top. I had the privilege of flying Emirates one time from Dubai to Bangkok in first class, and this was on the new A380, and that was, I would say, it was quite impressive. I did the same on Thai Airways one time from Bangkok to Tokyo, and also, the bathroom size in first class is basically like the bathroom size I have at home, so it's not like being on an airplane.
Yeah.
It does make a difference.
I understand, though, that there's a big difference between Emirates and Thai Airlines. I have not been on either, but the reports that I get it's really hard, except maybe Singapore, it's hard to compete with Emirates Airlines. Maybe also Qatar Airlines is.
Yeah, it depends. It depends really what you expect. Emirates, of course, is very professional, very organized. I think Thai, maybe you have more like a soul behind it when you fly. And I have to say, I think they were both excellent. So I didn't see such a difference they're different, but there's not such a difference in the service level. I guess I don't want to talk against United Airlines, but when I landed in Tokyo and then continued on my first class on a 3-class airline on United, I had a mileage ticket. Then all your excitement about flying first class was pretty much down the garbage when they asked you to go into the first class lounge and your sushi is wrapped in plastic. So every airline has different priorities, I guess.
Yes. I would say that, and I've flown a number of times on Polaris and United, and it's certainly better than economy, but it's not something to write home about. And there's, they don't serve individual things. There used to be, prior to COVID, where they would come through with a dessert cart, and there would be, ice cream and parfaits and petit foie and all sorts of things. Now they put a biscuit or something on the one tray and say, "That's it. You're done."
A bit in plastic, so you don't really.
And a Dixie cup. So So
Well, that's only, Peter, if you're lucky, because if you fly out of Munich, and a friend of mine is working for the last 25 years for the service agent that does the catering for all the Star Alliance carriers, you're really lucky to even get a meal, even in business class, because they cannot catch up. There is not enough staff to really cook for everyone, I guess. So in some cases,
so I'm sure they're still cooking
with a banana, you know?
on the long haul flights. They must maybe in Europe, but probably in the long haul flights they have to. I mean, they can't put you in first class from Munich to San Francisco and not give you a meal.
Well, I tell you, we did a story on it, and this was about this flight that took off from Munich to San Francisco, and all you got in business class was a banana, and the rest was like cookies in plastic or sandwiches, dried sandwiches in plastic, because they really didn't have the staff to cook anything. So then,
how many people complained afterwards? I mean, if you're a flight from Munich to San Francisco is probably going to cost you about $6,000.
Right.
And if you get a banana and a cookie for $6,000, you're not going to be happy.
No, and that's what airlines are forgetting sometimes. It's not really to take you from A to B. If there's a price difference between $300 and $6,000, $5,700 is the difference, and you should get something for this.
Yes, you should. And if you're not, you're basically on a city bus in the air.
Yeah, and that's entertainment system breaks. It has a value, and this is a steep value if you look behind the dollar amount you're spending for this.
Yes. So people really become very annoyed, and this I think is going to be part of what I'm talking about, the lag time that we started. In other words, right now people are anxious to travel because they were cooped up for 2 years wherever they were. Most of us felt like we were in prison, and now we're kind of out of prison, which is good. But now the issue is, if I'm not getting value for my money, people are going to start saying, wait a second, I don't need to travel. I know even the business person doesn't have to travel as much because they assume. You and I are having a conversation right now, 5 time zones away from each other. And what we're going to see people just stop traveling, and they'll find other ways. So in order for the tourism industry and the travel industry to be successful, it's got to provide value for the dollar. And it can't just raise prices. Now, I understand gas is very expensive right now. Fuel is very expensive. There's not enough personnel. But for example, I'm going next week to Morelia, Mexico. I'm making sure to get to the airport 3 hours early. For really, the flight is 2 hours, and I'm going to spend 3 hours waiting to take the flight. I'm going to spend more time in the terminal than on the plane because of the chaos at the airport.
Yeah. It's different time, but as you said, the nice thing is we can travel again, and people are desperate to travel. And the good thing is COVID is not holding us back, even though COVID numbers are still quite steep in many parts of the world, including in the United States. We just don't learn about it. If you really look again at my world here in Hawaii, our numbers are higher than compared to the highest numbers we ever had.
Yeah.
So
it may be though that we have to be a little careful on those numbers, because the original COVID was much more deadly and we had no therapeutics. And now when a disease becomes more contagious, usually it's less severe. And so you may have a lot of people having COVID, but they're basically having a cold. And we now have more and more we understand COVID, we're able to fight it better. Very few people, how many people in Hawaii are going to the hospital in comparison, or is it just COVID numbers?
Well, Peter, the numbers really, I looked at it for last week, were quite shocking. We had 15 people that died because of COVID in 1 week. Okay. And in our worst times, literally in our worst times, when the numbers came in on a daily basis, if we had 3 people dying on a day, this was alarming. So now we're really on an average above these numbers, but we don't talk about it anymore.
Well, maybe, I know that Hawaii is trying to discourage people from visiting. Maybe this would be a wonderful marketing technique, that they come to Hawaii and die from COVID, and that will stop people from coming.
Well, no comment on this one.
Right? I think I've learned from eTurbo News that you are, that the Hawaii Visit Authority is trying to create negative numbers and that you're discouraging people from visiting. So this
Well,
would be,
the visitors, the Hawaii Tourism Authority wants cultural tourism. They want tourism with value. So you should study the Hawaiian culture before you get here. You shouldn't just come here because we have nice beaches and you can party.
Right.
You should come here because you should respect the native Hawaiian and the culture.
and I agree on that, but you should therefore take a test on Hawaiian culture and language before you're allowed to buy a ticket.
And that's, I think, what the ideal situation would be, according to some of the people now in charge of tourism. So it's a different world out here. Whether it's better or good, I don't know. But in order to stay in business, that might be dangerous. And maybe we should have like culture-free zones, like Waikiki, available where we don't have the same rules like if you go to Waimanalo or to Kailua or Molokai, where maybe the cultural aspect is more important.
Yeah, it would be really tragic if you couldn't get on a plane because you couldn't remember how to conjugate a verb. Think about it. I don't know much about Hawaiian grammar, but I'm sure they have a grammar like everybody else. And if you know, I think if you're, I know that eTurbo News now publishes in Hawaiian, and I think it's probably, you know, you should be doing part of your programs in Hawaiian, I guess.
Well, it is Hawaiian. Of course, it's always good to keep a language alive.
Right.
But it's really, even those that speak Hawaiian mostly really don't speak it, trying to speak it. Right. So it's good to do that, but you're not going to convince visitors that come here
no, of course not.
Before they get here.
So some of the, and maybe this is a good place to end, some of the creative things Hawaiians have done, I know in the Hawaiian Jewish community, they never say aloha, they always say shaloha, which is from shalom and aloha put together. So you get peace and love.
That's definitely a good thing.
Yes.
Well, Peter.
Well, on that, I'm going to wish you Shabbat Shalom and Shaloha, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you, Peter. Same to you.
Bye.
And everyone else. If you wanted to watch this breaking news show again, just stay tuned. Or you can go to breakingnewsshow.com and you can watch this and all our other events we had. Or go to our YouTube channel. Just click on YouTube. It's on any of our pages. And you can also watch our various discussions we had online and interest groups. So it's going to be keeping you busy to catch up with what we're doing and what the world is doing in getting this tourism industry relaunched. Thank you, Peter, and good night.
Bye-bye. Shaloha.
Bye-bye.